like we're doing that. We're yeah, two of the just I can see that there. Yeah. That's what I said. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not a teacher herself.
Yeah. So.
Perfect. I'll just file on the mic. What was that? Filing?
Yeah.
That's yes.
Yeah. Did mine today. Yeah. It's not very long. Business association. Or the union, right? Like where your primary. And the how-to videos I have, like skip the other part of it, because you all help me. Well, we need to do that. All right, it's 7 o'clock, Monday, April 3rd. Let's call the Pleasant Hill School Board meeting to order. The first item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone can stand, thanks the flag. And pledge allegiance to the United States of America. To the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Well, then would you please read our mission statement?
You bet. President mission statement. To graduate all students with high level of academic and critical achievement, ready for post-secondary excellence, prepared for productive and passionate citizenship through research-based instruction and a collaborative system.
Thank you, Wilda. Do we have any changes or deletions to the agenda? No. All right, 3.0 introductions. Attendance at the previous board meeting. What did we have for audience previous?
2 online and 9 on site.
2 and 9. I see we have quite a few more than 9 today, so hey, welcome to everybody. Thank you for being here. And if you wouldn't mind starting off introducing yourselves and go around the room. Would you please?
Hi, I'm Marie Albrecht, I'm student. So,
Jessica Geyer, FFA president. Jennifer Woodland, Angela White, FFA advisor and teacher. Vanna White, who's a FFA vice president. Dakota Johnson, Pleasant Hill FFA trainer. Andrew Drews, Pleasant Hill chair. Sydney Buster, FFA chapter reporter.
Eric Geyer,
Nancy Geyer, parent.
Nathan Anderson, family member.
Yes, I have to sit here.
Elizabeth Hutchinson, grandmother.
Brandon.
Christina, Long. Derek,
Jessica Flood, math department chair. Michelle Olson, middle school math teacher. Teacher of middle school math.
Jay Gray, high school math.
Thank you all for being here tonight. We have 4.0 presentations. 4.1 is students of the month.
Yeah, so we have 4 wonderful young students to celebrate tonight, 2 who are here tonight. Lorena, come on, please. So some teachers had some nice things to say about these students. Mr. Ludwig said, Lorena Albright is a bright student. Lorena joined the beginning choir halfway through the first semester and has flourished ever since. Now she's currently in the advanced choir singing soprano, the highest vocal part in choir, and has taken on a tough task by learning 5 new pieces and performing at 2 different choral festivals within the span of 5 weeks. He said, I'm thoroughly impressed with her ability to learn so quickly and her attitude towards learning. She brings a lot of peace to the group with her humorous jokes and positive attitude. She is without a doubt the right person for this award. Lorena wanted to say that she has participated in many things throughout high school, including National Honor Society, Pleasant Hill Honor Society, Student Council for 3 years, varsity basketball for 2 years, Hispanic and publication for all 4 years. And additionally, she just recently joined the Ascensions Choir Group. After high school, she'll be attending the University of Oregon, where she plans to major in journalism and communications. Thanks, man.
We have a certificate for you, some more.
Thank you.
So, hey, thank you for the outstanding job you're doing. It's you're setting a great example. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Good job. So Lorena was our student of the month for February. We also have Christopher Hutchinson here. He's our most improved student for March. Mrs. Duchateau said Christopher Hutchinson is set to graduate this June. He's a kind and respectful student who has worked hard to earn the credits needed to graduate. He's a talented artist and also enjoys working with his hands. He has an interest in carpentry and wants to build homes in the future. Mr. Gray, who's here, wanted to share that Christopher is a fantastic young person with a wonderfully positive and kind personality. Christopher works hard at his academics and is an incredible artist to boot. I wish I could still work with Chris this year to see his continued improvement and growth.
Have all work for you too, so thank you very much. You've done a great job. Appreciate it.
Our most improved student for February was Morgan Perkins. Mr. Duchateau wanted to share that Morgan is a delightful student who is working to graduate this June and is passing all of her classes she is currently taking. She is working at the Highway 58 coffee shop and earning school to work credit for doing so. Morgan has taken steps towards pursuing support for her vocational goal of becoming a phlebotomist and EKG technician. Way to go, Morgan. Keep up the good work. And then our student of the month for March was Eli Brennan. And Miss Watney wanted to say, my only regret having Eli as a student is that he is graduating and will not be in my class next year. Eli is always kind to others, easygoing and patient, yet is studious and exacting in his work. His participation in my class is so welcome, as it is always on target, funny, inquisitive, and purposeful. Lately, since I won't have him last year, he has been asking me about different grammar and verb structures that we cover in Spanish 3, so that he can study them on his own. When he speaks Spanish in class, he is testing out new grammar that we practice and making an effort to understand as much as possible. I hope he has the opportunity to continue his Spanish studies, or at least continue learning foreign language in the future. I really think the sky's the limit for Eli and his endeavors. He succeeded in whatever he chooses to study or take interest in. And I think you'll see a pattern here. Mr. Ludwig said, Eli Bren is by far the most talented music student at Pleasant Hill High School. His piano skills are beyond impressive. His sight reading skills are exceptional. And more importantly, he's a kind person. It doesn't matter if you've ever met or if you're meeting him for the first time, because will certainly treat you with the utmost kindness and respect. It is a joy to watch perform both on piano and voice, and I'm truly sad that I won't get the opportunity to work with him next year. However, I know he'll continue to do great things beyond high school, and I look forward to seeing him continue his journey beyond high school. The world needs more people like Eli. And finally, Mr. Gray said, Eli Bren is an exemplary student, especially when it comes to his math and music skills. I've been very impressed with Eli's hard work, attitude, and friendly personality since the first day I met him in math class. It's rare you can say that a student actually wants to complete mathematical proofs on their own time. So, congratulations.
We can certainly understand if our students of the month want to sneak out the back door, as they may have work to do, but you could also stay for the presentation if you would like. So 4.2 is the FFA presentation.
Well, while that is loading, I'd just like to start off by saying thank you so much for having us. And I just want you guys to all know how important FFA and our CTE program is to all of our students and our community members. And yeah, I'll give this just a second to look. So for this presentation, we have 4 of us presenting tonight, myself, and then it'll be Tressa Geyer, Zoe Brought, and Samantha White. So this presentation is going to kind of recap some of our greatest accomplishments throughout the year. Definitely not everything that we've done, but one of the biggest events that we work towards during the year is going to be state convention, which is where all of the Oregon FFA members come together in one place in Redmond, and a lot of members compete in different competitions. And for example, some of our chapter was able to compete at bar business management, which we placed 5th out of 33 teams. So that was really good. That is one of the hardest competitions in FFA. So that was really great for us. And then for public speaking, Tressa Geyer was able to place 4th this year. That was really great. She had an awesome speech, which took a lot of preparation. And then ag sales was not held at state convention. We competed at OSU and placed 15th out of 35 teams, and that was our first time competing for ag sales at the state level. So that was a great accomplishment. And then at state convention, it's not just going and meeting different FFA members, which is a great opportunity in itself, but we compete in proficiencies. So students bring their SAEs, which are their supervised agriculture experience projects. And these students who get to come to state for that have some of the highest honor level of you know, they just go above and beyond in their projects. And some of our members were able to sit and just evaluate them and place them, which is, you know, a really good opportunity to see what our other peers are working on. And then delegates, we had 2 delegates this year, which is a part of the nomination and election process of the Oregon FFA state officers. So they get to see more Harley Pro, they get to just be a part of the political side of it and actually have a voice in just how state convention is gonna run and how Oregon FFA is being used. And then on top of all of that, there's different workshops, lots of different people, career fairs, all sorts of different businesses able to talk. Yeah, you can hand out resumes. It's just a really great opportunity. And then we were also able, 4 of us were able to receive our state degrees this year, or 5 of us were able to. And that's actually the highest honor that you can get at the state level with FFA. So that was really great. That was the first time that anybody from Pleasant Hill FFA has gotten that degree. And that took, I'd say, at least 30 hours minimum of preparation to get that for each of us. Thank you to Angela for all the help, because that was a lot. And then personally, one of my greatest accomplishments through FFA was being able to compete as a state officer candidate. So if you think about the supervised agriculture experience, you are required to spend 40 hours throughout the entire school year on that project. And I put a minimum of 80 hours in about 2 months of preparing for that, including an application process, getting signatures, creating a candidate letter, a new resume just for FFA, and then going to state convention, competing amongst 23 of my peers and doing round robin interviews, a whole bunch of different interviews, and that is all judged by actual FFA members, which is really neat. And unfortunately, I didn't make it to the top 10, but that was a really, really great experience. And I really hope that we could get some more of our Pleasant Hill FFA members to be a part of that. Made some really great connections, and state convention is just a really great opportunity. So with that, bring up Trustee Dyer.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and give my speech, like Dakota already mentioned. This speech did place forth at state convention out of 10 computers. 10 computers. It was first at districts and first at sectionals to be able to compete at that level. I've done public speaking for 4 years, and all of my places are on that. The United Nations says, from shifting weather patterns that threaten food production to rising sea levels that increase the risk of catastrophic flooding, the impacts of climate change are global in scope and unprecedented in scale. Without drastic action today, adapting to these impacts in the future will be more difficult and costly. This quote from the United Nations and many other quotes regarding climate change have contributed to a widespread panic that we must do something and do it now. In response, new green programs have rapidly been developed to limit greenhouse gas emissions. Although many of these programs may be beneficial for our planet, some have unintended consequences that can hurt more than they help. Companies can offset a portion of their carbon footprint by financing sequestration programs, receiving a certificate called the carbon credit for every metric ton of carbon eliminated. The focus of my speech is on one particular form of carbon credit known as forest offsets. The most common of these forest offsets pay for landowners to avoid harvest for often double the typical harvesting cycle of 40 years. The theory is that the extra years of growth will most effectively sequester carbon out of the atmosphere, but the result might not be what they expect. Millions of acres of timberland have already been set aside for this purpose, and that number is only continuing to grow. It's critical now more than ever that society recognizes the environmental and carbon sequestering benefits of managing forests for wood products, rather than using vast acres of timberland for carbon credits. In grade school, we learned about the process of photosynthesis, where a plant creates its food using water, solar energy, and carbon dioxide, while releasing oxygen. The carbon from this process remains inside the plant. However, the longer trees remain standing past their optimal biological growth phase, the less effective they are at sequestering and storing this carbon. According to a paper written by the National Council for Air Stream Improvement, or the NCASI, the rate at which existing old forests sequester carbon per year is lower compared to younger forests. Instead, the article said the maximum sequestration rate over time is achieved by harvesting forests at the optimal rotation age of the region. Further, if considerations such as geographical location, tree species, and environmental factors are ignored, it increases the risk of tree dying. The NCASI article also states, all of the carbon from wood decaying from natural mortality will eventually be returned to the atmosphere. In the case of wildfires, the older overgrown forests release mass amounts of airborne carbon and can cause damage to wildlife, homes, and threaten human life. Forest fires should be a driving concern among West Coast residents, and deferred harvest will only increase the risk of loss and damage to the environment. As forests grow older, aged trees become weak and susceptible. The wood from these decaying trees can never be used, nor will its carbon continue to be stored. The NCASI paper summarizes saying, when all factors are considered, including substitution effects and wood product sequestration, multiple studies have concluded that long-living commercial rotations reduce yield, reduce financial returns, and provide reduced overall climate benefits. Incentivizing landowners to leave trees standing longer, only to increase the risk of carbon release and mortality, does not make sense in our global goal to reduce emissions. Longer forest harvest cycles also affect the viability of wood products companies and the communities that benefit from them. When trees are harvested and made into wood products, they store much of the carbon for decades or longer. This means that instead of leaving forests to die, we have a way of improving air quality by storing carbon, all while producing a renewable, versatile, and strong product that society needs for homes, buildings, energy, and many other critical uses. As technology grows, new forest products, such as mass timber, have the potential to replace carbon-intensive products such as concrete and steel. What's more, bioenergy created by burning the residuals left over from wood production is a great source of clean energy. According to a document written by the United States Department of Agriculture, or the USDA's Office of Sustainability and Climate, when we use wood products or bioenergy in the place of fossil fuels, we avoid the permanent release of fossil fuel-based carbon into the atmosphere, also known as the substitution effect. Society is beginning to recognize the amazing carbon sequestration resource we have in wood, and is jumping at the opportunity to utilize it. According to an article written by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations States, overall consumption of primary processed wood products is expected to grow 37% by 2050 in a business as usual scenario. As demand for this renewable product grows, deferred harvest will limit access to available. With fewer trees being harvested, some mills and the jobs that go with them will shut down, further reducing the availability of domestic wood products for society. Once these older forests are ready to be harvested, they will have fewer mills to process their logs, and the potential wood products will eventually decay in the forests, releasing their stored carbon. The article goes on to say, meeting future demand for sustainable wood may be achieved by a combination of increased sustainable production in naturally regenerated temperate and boreal forests, and planting forests increasingly in the global south. If we start downsizing for working timberland in North America, the lack of supplies and resulting elevated prices will force customers to use more products such as concrete and steel, or import wood from other countries, both of which will emit more carbon than domestic wood production. It's also important to keep in mind that for many, wood is not a luxury product, but a building material for their homes and a source of basic heat and energy. When we talk about slowing carbon cycles, we're talking about limiting people's access to everyday necessities. There is no simple cure to the climate crisis. However, I believe large-scale forest offsets will likely cause harm, rather than serve as a solution. The USDA states, healthy forests have the potential to remove and store large quantities of carbon from the atmosphere. This inherent capability and our ability to enhance it through management activities is capturing the public's attention as a potential means to reduce the impact of climate change. As the issues of climate change and greenhouse gas emissions continue to disrupt everyday life, society needs to turn to effective forest management and harvest solutions and avoid incentivizing counterproductive deferred harvesting. The conversations regarding the future of forest offsets are happening now. The decisions made today will shape what our planet looks like for future generations. We have a responsibility as a society to engage everyone in these conversations so that together we can take strides toward maintaining a healthy, thriving planet. Thank you.
Pass this out to students. So next up, we have Zoe with her agri-science. Hello, my name is Zoe Brott, and I competed at the agri-science fair at State Convention. My project focuses on the integration of microbial fuel cells, a form of renewable energy, into aquaponic systems and the effect on electrical production. Through this process, I walked through the scientific process. First, researching and developing an understanding of what microbial fuel cells are, how I could build them, and how I could create an experiment around them. I first researched and then developed a hypothesis and an experiment to go along with my hypothesis. I then performed the experiment and built my microbial fuel cells and collected data. This data was then translated into a paper that I wrote using the skills that I had learned from extensive research. This paper included sections about the abstract literary review and the data that I collected and the significance to agriculture. This was then presented to a panel of judges, my manuscript, and then a presentation along with this poster. From this project, I have learned how to cross-examine data, my own data, with other researchers, how to read and write my own scientific paper, how to create electricity, and how a microbial fuel cell works. At the agri-science fair at the State Convention, I placed first in my division and category, and I had the overall highest score at the agri-science fair. Thank you. And then up next, we have Savannah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Savannah White. I'm a junior at Westfield High School and our chapter vice president. I'll be touching on today SAEs, which are supervised agriculture experiences, state degrees, and national convention. SAEs are, like I said, supervised agriculture experiences. All students are required to complete a project. It has to be agriculture based, but these range from market animals like steers, lambs, swine, to agri-science projects about microbial fuel cells. This is a great way to get people invested in FFA. Each CTE class you take, you're automatically enrolled into the program. And this is probably one of the main ways to get people interested into our program and get them to continue competing. People can't unfortunately use their CDEs as SAEs. So CDEs are career development events, basically the competitions that FFA members compete in, like ag sales, farm business management, public speaking. Those can't be SAEs, but they are great projects that most of our students actually focus on. State degrees are very similar to getting your associate's degree. It's the same amount of work. Very similar. 5 of us received that on stage at State Convention this year. There was a lot of work put into that and dedicated many, many hours of community service and competitions through SAEs and activities. And on to National Convention. National Convention goes from October 31st to November 5th. We have been working really hard the past few years in our CDEs and through fundraising, through grants, and like market animals. And our FFA students have also co-authored along with this grant, like $30,000 worth of them and help fund CPE activities. We'd love this opportunity to expand our FFA chapter program, and being permission to attend this event.
Thank you guys again for having us. We really appreciate this opportunity and you guys taking the time out of your meeting and out of your life to tell us.
Thank you for your presentation. We appreciate it. You guys are very committed and doing a lot of hard work. Yeah, it's really nice to see that. So, you're great ambassadors of the Pleasant Hill School District. And that's appreciated on many levels. So. Our next item of business here is public forum. Individuals who are on site during this portion of the board meeting, members of the public are specifically invited to present items of commendation and or concerns. At the discretion of the board chair, further public participation may be allowed at the time specific agenda items are under consideration by the board. Individuals who are viewing online, PHSD posts the upcoming agenda on our website Friday before regularly scheduled Monday school board meetings. This will allow for public comment prior to the board meeting. Please click on the tab provided to share your comments for the school board to consider at the upcoming meeting. Personnel matters may not be discussed at school board meetings. Members of the public who have personnel concerns or commendations should share them directly with the district superintendent. So do we have any items here, comments from the public here tonight? No? And we have not had any comments sent into the website at all year, correct? Yes, that's good and bad. Our next item, 6.0 board action items. 6.1 is to approve the consent agenda. Looks like we want to take those as a whole or individually. Yes, we can take them individually. 6.101, March 13th, board meeting minutes. I was not here. How do those look? Okay. Motion to approve those now.
So,
Second. Okay, moved in second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed. All right. 6.102, the enrollment report. I suppose we could take that in 6.103, the financial report as together. We've had a chance to peruse those. Looks like enrollment is still up over last year. Oh, a motion there.
I move to approve 6.102 as approved.
My second. Okay, moved in second. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. 6.104. Accept hiring of Wanda. I'm not going to try the last name out. Petrastic? Thank you. Temporary license, loading substitute, 6 through 12.
I have a question about that.
Sure.
I just didn't know, was they had a floating substitute before?
No, so we've got two positions that were not filled at the high school, and we were a few board meetings back, then another temporary teacher that we hired, so. Thought is rather, we've got shortage subs, rather than letting FTE sit out there unfilled, we've got folks that we can hire in a temporary position and actually make them ours. And so Rhonda also applied, so we're sharing her between the two buildings.
when the voting stuff, she's always here, just. Whatever. It was the position.
It was. I see, probably, the day goes by and we don't have a position needs to be filled. Jen, no.
I have something else.
Sure.
I have any trouble with this on the agenda because I'm still so blown away by the. That's the presentation. So I just want to say again, how great that was, and particularly speech on. That's a speech on carbon credits and this story. I think that's really important information. I'm really glad that you all understand it, and I just hope it gets widely decimated, because I think you put it really clearly. And all this, but I know I was right again. Now I try to focus on other things. Thanks.
Okay. Now would look for a motion then.
I'll motion to approve the hiring of Vermont as a temporary license clothing substitute. Second.
Okay, moved in second, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, 6.2, approved FFA out of state trip request.
So in your board packet, you have the out-of-state request from Mrs. White for the FFA to attend convention in Indiana. If you have any questions, I know Angela's here as well tonight. I recommend you approve it. They're ready to go.
I think they are ready. You have a motion?
Sure, I won't do that. I will be approved the FFA out of state trip request.
Second. All right, moved in second, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, have a good trip.
Thank you.
6.3, approve the second reading of JHCCF. JHCCF-AR.
So the last meeting and the first meeting of updated policy of JHCCF, this will be the second reading of JHCCF. The update would read, this is head lice tuberculosis. A student with a suspected case of head lice may be referred to designated trained staff for screening. Screening will be done in a confidential manner by trained personnel. School personnel will notify the parent or guardian of a student found with head lice and provide information on appropriate treatment. The student will be allowed to remain in school, and the suggested school measures for head lice control is provided in head lice guidance published by the Oregon Department of Education and Oregon Health Authority Public Health Division shall be followed. It's recommended the board approve the second reading. Policy JHCCF.
I move to approve second reading and policy JHCCF-FAR. Second.
Okay, moved in second, is there any further discussion? No, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Right, 6.4, approved 2023-24 academic calendar.
In your packet, you've got a draft, it's 23-24 academic calendar. Calendar was put together, shared with both association presidents for feedback at elementary and the middle high school for feedback as well. Some of the bigger changes that you may notice is that basically August 28th is that first day back from the teachers. And then we've got a consecutive 29th, 30th, 31st, and then September 1st for all teachers. September 4th is the Labor Day holiday. And then one of the changes is September 5th. So September 5th is right now on the calendar as a work day for teachers. Where we picked that up from was generally the in-service day, statewide in-service day, generally about the second Friday in October. We're making that an actual school day and putting the work day at the beginning of the school year. That was based on some feedback, principles as far as getting some additional work time, having staff time for principals to be able to work with. And we're also making a transition with Synergy, our student information this year. So we are, WebSys is going away, which is the current one. Synergy is the new one. So we'll have some training, and some additional time that we'll need to put in for staff early in the year. You'll also see on here, 31 early release days, that we will work, if this is approved, and then go through and develop our early release calendar. But there's 176 student days, 191 teacher days, which includes the 5 paid holidays. And I mentioned the 31 early release days. So any questions?
The question I have is. They don't, figures don't have the October day. Not just some state opportunities, don't miss out on right now.
There's there's not. Statewide in-service is not what it used to be. Yeah, it's about like that, so, I think in the future, as far as we'll be able to go back, especially when Synergy is, in place, making the determination. There's also the January 15th, day, which is, the marker, that's the, President's Day, or, no, sorry, February 19th, which is the, President's Day, that we have on our calendar as well, as another. Super non-contract.
I suppose if there were opportunities on that October day, they could be like that or something.
Except there's no subs bill.
Well, I'm thinking there's usually a force to orient.
Yeah, so thinking now, for staff that may want to do something, thinking out far enough in advance that we should be able to get that in, we should be able to look at supporting that, really trying to develop out a professional development early release plan. And so spending a lot of time this spring as before we get into next year, knowing, okay, these are the district days, these are the activities we got planned, there's a building days, the activity we got planned. And then there's the teacher directed days, and trying to tie those back into growth and evaluation, activities, and just being able to know ahead of time. So we can plan these things out.
That made it real. Just one staff, they did want to look at it.
Otherwise, there's not much, it's really reflective of the current calendar. The floating days in there for emergency closure, during the weather.
What are the asterisks for?
The 17th and 19th, those are the emergency closure days. I've got little pieces in here that just remind me. So, the days, so if we're closing school down, we have to add days back into the calendar. Those are days that we can pick up with the calendar. I don't think you actually have a colored copy, but the colored copy is if there's a day that's actually usually will highlight it yellow, but it'll have a red number. Those denoting the 5 paid holidays that are in the contract. The gray ones, like these, November 13th, February 24th, and April 15th, is the start of each of the quarters. October 19th and 20 are half days for students, and the other half are parent teacher conferences.
Any other calendar questions? So I guess your calendars have plenty of batting around at the administrative level.
I believe it has. I guess.
Right. Then I would move approval of the 2023-24 academic calendar.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Moving on 7.0 reports and information. 7.1 math curriculum adoption report. 7.101 is elementary.
Yeah. So it's that time to start looking at adoption. I've got lots of things for you. I'm just gonna ask you to take one and pass it on. I just want you to have in front of you the adoption cycle as to when materials do come up for adoption. Materials are about every 7 years, unless there is a glitch like COVID comes along, and then it kind of puts things off, or the State Department takes a win and says, you know, this isn't working for everyone, we need to move the adoption cycle up. We see that often too. Prior to any adoption, standards are reworked. So I have for you the latest copy of the math standards. And again, take one, pass down. And while that's happening, I just have a question for you. This is not my actual standards notebook, but it's the equivalent of what my standards notebook looks like if I had all of them for our district K through 12. How many years worth of standards are there in the state of Oregon for students in K to 12? Curious, who knows the answer to that? How many? Take a while to guess. High school? 16. 16, higher. 40. Lower than 40. 22 years worth of standards are available in our state. So then it becomes important that we use those early release times that Jim's been talking to you about to prioritize the standards. So that's one of the activities that we've been working on in the elementary, and I'm going to pass along to you the process that we've been using during this process. I promise I'm not going to read everything to you tonight. I just want to highlight a few things to you that this process actually began on October 21st of 2021 with the state department putting together those standards that we've got before you. And the key pieces that I do want to highlight is that we've gone back and we've added K-12 data reasoning domain that was taken out originally because everyone said, wait a minute, why are we duplicating between ELA? We're teaching graphing and all that good stuff over there. Why are we doing it in math too? Let's just put it in one spot. The sad part was it stopped being public. And we saw it in test scores. So it has been added back in. Measurement used to go in with the data and reasoning. It's now incorporated into geometry. There's been a revision of the K-12 domain to reflect the learning pathways of algebraic reasoning, numeric reasoning, geometric reasoning, and measurement and data reasoning. And then identification of 2 core credit requirements in the high school that aligns to the Oregon 2+1 course design. And then I just want to drop down with you down to our process that we used. So we received the standards in September. Every year in the fall, I spend at least one staff meeting just going through standards with my staff to make sure that they're on board. They know what the standards are, they know where to find them, and we talk through our alignments and what we need to focus on that year to realign to make sure that we're delivering the best possible instruction for our students. And also making sure that it's aligned to those curriculum-based measures. Remember Dibble's training that I took you guys through, and I haven't taken you through a cadence training, but all of that needs to align. Then we get to see the list. And like November, December, I got to spend some quality time with OTE on some Zoom calls, getting to see the list. We put together a PLC team just specific for whatever curricular area we're adopting. And for Quinones from kindergarten, Jennifer Fisher, 1st grade, Valerie Davis, 2nd grade, Rachel Smythe, 3rd grade, Molly Howell, 4th grade, Caitlin Mike Lansky / Nicholas Dadden for 5th grade, and myself make up that team. And we spent quite a bit of time reviewing video, articles, doing some digging ourselves, reading quite a bit, and looking at curriculum. What do we want to bring into our district? And one of the things that we started talking about is, wait a minute, let's not reinvent the wheel here. We've done a lot with Engage Rika. Let's stay. We've brought in a lot of wonderful professional development yearly, perfecting this program. Let's keep it.
But this program, I kid you not, is probably about this thick of notebooks. Because it's a downloadable open source program that we've been using for years because we needed something at the time that we brought it on board. So we immediately went to the standards and said, hey guys, let's take a look at the standards. So I had every grade level get into their teams. And they couldn't have a discussion with each other first, but go through and prioritize them. What are the stoplight? What are the things that we want our kids to master? What are the things that we're going to say they're going to be developing because we know that master is coming the following year or the next year? And hey, what are the things that, hey, we're going to expose them to? And just keep right on moving. Because again, remember, we've got 22 years that we're squeezing in 13 to get through everything. So this has been one of those workshop items that we've been doing as a building once a month. We get together and this is all we do during that whole time that we're working, is just prioritizing our standards. The next step is we're going to get into teams and start looking at it K to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and move it on up with the goal of eventually articulating to the middle school and high school to get that going across K-12. We also decided, hey, maybe we want to look around a little bit. We became very interested in a new curriculum called Revealed Map. I did bring over select copies, and I'm going to apologize if you decide that you want to take some time to look. I know you've got an executive session going to happen, but I'm going to leave this over here if you want to look at it. First grade's missing, and second grade and part of third grade. Because one of the things we got permission for was we wanted to be able to pilot. And I talked with our reps from the publishers and said, what do we have to do to be able to pilot? Well, we sent you some materials, copy anything you want, use it however you want right now during the pilot phase. And so we've got teachers at every grade level who've been piloting this curriculum. And I've not had one negative comment back from any of the pilots. And I will tell you, the very first teacher who pulled one of these out of the box said, oh my gosh, and I was like, uh-oh, this is not a good sign. It's in color. Deborah, can you believe this? We have color because we have been teaching, as many of you will remember, so you're smiling in that community with a black and white and only story problems. So we're going back. We're going to have some traditional computational problems, and we've got color that we are so excited about. And every teacher who has piloted a unit has had nothing but low to say. The kids picked it up quicker. Okay, why did they pick it up quicker? Well, the units are not as long as engaged. There's not 7, 8, or 4 pages of story problems, 2 per sheet of paper. The units are shorter. We felt like we had a better grasp of what our kids know. And our formative and our summative assessment really reflected, because it wasn't taking us so much time, and the kids are better prepared for the next unit. So that's interesting. Hear that at second grade. Then my third grade team said, okay, we're ditching Engage Eureka with or without your permission. And I was like, well, you got my permission, go. And I said, what unit are you going to do? I'm just curious. And they said, fragments, which is a tough unit for kids. And so that's what they're working on right now. And they're already reporting great success. As fourth grade has also done the same thing and said, oh my gosh, our kids really truly understand. And so fifth grade is now delving into it too. So I'm going to be curious to hear how that strain worked. Because we went out and purchased a separate curriculum with the guidance of a great consultant here in the state of Oregon to help us in that one particular area, because a lot of the OSAS for our third, fourth, and fifth grade is focused on fractions and decimals. So it's like we need to give them a really good foundation. And that's overall what I've heard from the teachers. We now have a solid foundation underneath these kids, and we're liking what we see. Every unit starts with a be curious question. It's designed to be totally open-ended. So any student, doesn't matter where their math instruction is happening, can access this and be part of the conversation. So we're very excited by that. All the materials are differentiated. The cool thing I really like, because I know how much time, we love our guest teachers. We love having Rhonda available to us because she could step in and do anything. But when we have a guest teacher in the building, they struggle with Engage Rika. Because it is such a complex program to be teaching. So our teachers end up finding some worksheet out on Teachers Pay Teachers or somewhere, which we don't want them doing. We want to stick to the curriculum, we want to get through it. But this program is designed so that they can have exploratory learning happening within their classroom, if that's the way they so choose to teach. And a lot of my staff does teach that way. Those who are a little nervous, who will be really honest. I have a phobia of math, not me personally, sorry. It's one of my favorites to teach, but some of my staff do have phobias. There's a guided step by step, and this is great. I've got a guest teacher coming in, leave this behind. It also works very nicely because we've spent a lot of time, as you've heard us talk about walk to read. We do another strategy, and that's called fruit salad. So we're pulling kids within our own classrooms, differentiating and meeting their needs. All the materials can be found here. So staff is not having to go dig and of course, so we're excited by that. We looked at it from the lens of reading too. Because math is a lot of reading. We have kids who do struggle in narrative reading. What are we doing to support them in math? This program does a nice job of simplifying language. And the readability level is again at their level. Across the different grades. So we were very excited by that. With probably the exception of kindergarten, or kindergarten teams like, don't worry, they got it, they'll be fine. It also has a larger font than what we are been accustomed to. Again, another bonus for our kids. And the other piece is, I know several of you in this room have been parents at the elementary, and you've struggled with math homework, and you wanted to probably throw it out the window, burn it, or write me a note saying the dog really did eat it. I watched the dog eat it because I don't want to deal with this. It's tough. We liked the simplicity of it for parents. And the fact is that we're not teaching 10 different strategies. We're now focusing on 2 to 3 strategies for a whole unit. Wherein Engage Rika, some of our units do have 5, 6 strategies that our kids are taught, not just the standard algorithm, and then they're told, take the one that fits your need and works for you. Which then gets into other transition when we get to the middle school level, and we apologize for that. That's been the basis of the operation that we've been working. So we're very excited to bring before you tonight, even now, by McGraw-Hill, that we would like to move forward. For adoption for the next 7 years. And we've already gone out for a bid, and I can tell you that it will be approximately $90,000. That includes all the materials that we got. Student workbooks will come every year as part of the adoption package. We'll be buying manipulatives because our kids can't use manipulatives. And we'll have uniform kits so that they build upon each other. And OSAS is now also giving that to us as a tool that our kids can use as long as we're using it in instruction. Can't drop it on to the day of the testing or anything like that. It does have a digital component, which again, the staff has looked at. We've used it a little bit with the kids. We don't have as big a release on it as we'd like, but we're very impressed. And our kids who have been using it are very engaged. And a couple of them said, hey, that really kind of helps cement the concept in for me. We will have parent letters going home for every unit, plus we'll be able to release the digital piece to parents too, so that they can see the same videos that the kids have been able to see in the classroom and experience as well. That's what we are proposing for math adoption of the elementary. Questions from you? Yes.
Yeah, great. I'm a huge fan of story problems, so. Still some story.
Oh, there's still story problems, but it's a nice balance finally. The piece that we've missed with Engage Rika is that balance isn't there. It's heavy on story problems, very little computation. And what are we checking constantly? We're checking computation. The other thing that we like about this is it really does line up with the new curriculum-based measure that we've been using this year. And in all the work that the grade levels have done with standards, they were like, it is spot on for me, helping us meet our standards and identifying the ones that we identify as priority too.
It starts next year.
This starts next year, so our plan is, I already sent it over to Sherry with some questions. To see if I could front load a little bit, but I haven't done them stuff, I'm sure I will this week.
And I missed it. Why 7 years?
That is just the magic number that the state can up with. It takes about 7 years for publishers to turn things around.
And what's a manipulative?
Manipulative is like pattern blocks, a ruler, a compass,
Okay.
anything that you're using over and above the textbook that is not technology based.
And, sorry,
No,
I'm a math geek. I love
Yeah.
that.
I do too.
Grateful for every math teacher I ever had. Seriously. These are not in any priority. You've decided to prioritize them based on what?
What we felt the kids needed to know.
Okay.
Okay,
But they have to know all of them.
they have to know all of them. That's why, because we put a system together and said. Fourth grade said, hey, Jerry, here's what we're saying is mastery this year. For example. Multiply or divide or solve problems in authentic contexts involving multiplication comparison, distinguishing multiplication comparison from an adding comparison. Okay, so that was something my staff said, this has got to be firm. And one of them I happen to know is we've just been having a wonderful conversation over fact fluency. Where do we have to have those number facts come in? And for those of you who are engaged, Rika, number ones and on. So you don't have to come to my office anymore and say, teach me number ones, please. We're back to facts. So, yeah, so we've decided, and then again, for priority, we said, hey, what are we developing that we know are going to be coming along? And what are the things we're okay to let go of because we're just going to expose them, we know 2-3 grade levels up. That they're going to get mastery on it. So that's why that vertical articulation is just as important. Good questions.
I would love to hear you say, hey, the previous curriculum we had is fantastic. We're just going to re-adopt it someday.
I know, I just can't find it. And you know, the hard part, hey, John, I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not a publisher fan. So if you've known me for a long time, when I taught in my own classroom, I'm gonna wrap myself out. I didn't use the publisher materials. I got into the math community that kind of only wrote our own stuff and we did a lot. And over the years, that transition, this is the first good, solid publisher piece that I've seen in a long, long time.
Good.
I'm excited. Yeah. Okay.
And we're gonna make your day. I think. Good job, we're gonna be short and sweet.
Okay.
So Kimberly, I think is bringing up some slides that we just made sure that we had our talking points.
But I think one of the big things that is valuable for you guys to know is we as middle school staff look through all of the curriculum or all of the choices. And one thing that has stood out to both of us is there isn't one publisher that is doing super awesome K through 12. It's every publisher seems to have one area where they are really spending their time. And so the stuff that's great for elementary, it doesn't quite feel the same for middle school. And so I know it feels very disjointed to be like, oh, we're gonna do reveal for elementary, and then we want to go to EdGems for middle school and then change. But it's because publishers seem to specify that this is my area, and then that's where they put all their focus. And then they have the other grade levels, it feels very pieced together. So
Kimberly, you're gonna partner with me.
okay,
Okay. So we did land on EdGems, and both of us have pride of history with the lead author, Shannon McCosh, and McCosh, a middle school educator, and the book is produced by middle school math teachers and middle math teachers. And this is at least its third publishing. We actually have 4 books on that right now, which is Shannon McCaw's program. This is just rebranded a little bit, but it's still her stuff. And so her mission is to develop, so our team put together this program with middle school and high school teachers. The program is meant to empower teachers to not only cover the standards, but to cover them with enough depth to free up the teacher to do some other things. And that has been my experience. So some of the best professional development I've gotten in the last 25 years has been with her team. So we went with a publisher that we knew the vendor would really stand behind the product and provide us what we needed to do. So engagement strategies that I learned through her 10 years ago, I use with my students today because it gets them talking about math, it gets them making sense of the math, it gets them to that metacognition piece, which all publishers aren't able to do. So
She's in Oregon.
she is, yeah, she is in Oregon. So it really does engage the students. And it's designed to provide a wide variety for the students. And then it's flexible. So the program has real world problems. The program does have a fluency piece, so which we know doesn't stop in elementary school. We continue to work on that fluency, and that was one of the questions we had for the author. What's nice is that we both have her email and she responds immediately. We have her on our phone, she responds immediately. And one of my questions was, have you included a fluency component with your new program? And they do, they have a digital fluency component. So we know that she's already done the standards walk. We know that the standards are not only included, but they're also prioritized. And then another thing that she focuses on is just the 8 math practices that do run K through 12. And the math practices are asking students to make sense of the problem and persevere, to reason abstractly, to construct viable arguments, critique reasoning with others, model their mathematics, use appropriate tools and strategies, attend to precision, look and make sense of the structure of mathematics, and then look for and express regular repeated reasoning. So trying to get them to that generalization of math. And so the process for all of us, we started looking at materials in January. So the month of January, the month of February, we looked at several different options. And then informing our stakeholders, March 16th, these textbooks were made available to the public for review at a community event that was held at Pleasant Hill Elementary School. And then here we are tonight, presenting our preference to you guys. So we certainly don't have a dollar amount, but one thing we wanted a hard copy. We're not using consumables. So whatever the cost is this year, it won't be continued. It's a one-time cost. We wanted middle school students to have textbooks.
That's another reason we went with this. I mean, this is the curriculum we like the best, but one thing that we found when we started looking at middle school is the majority of the options are solely digital. And that is not the direction we wanted to go. Kids need to write. They need to learn how to organize their math and organize their thought. And that process of using a book and going through all the steps is so important, and not just having them on a computer. And so that's a huge piece of this. There is also an online component that has some really fantastic things. There's a lot of differentiation. So it's like, you want this lesson? Well, here's 3 other cool things that you can do around the same skills. All of it is typed in. But like Deidre was saying, we do not want to, there's a lot of options in it. We are looking at just ordering the textbooks for students and not having the actual consumable workbooks. That is not.
For us, the kids have a math journal that they continually write in and do their exams in and keep their notes in, and they might have foldables in that math journal, and they construct that math journal all year long.
We cannot hold on to, because I've had the math consumables before where I had to personally store. I had 150 students and I had 2 books per kid that I had to store daily, like all the time in my classroom, and it became a disaster. And so simple is just
So middle school is recommending math ed gems, Shannon McCaw's program, which we currently use, and she's just made it more fabulous.
I can leave these if you wanna look at them. This is just 8th grade.
Thanks, questions.
Is it also for 7 years?
Yes,
That's all.
yeah, the rotation cycle is the same for all of us.
When you're using different publishers, how do you assure alignment between the curriculum? That there isn't a gap from the elementary school to the middle school or too much overlap?
I think since I've been here, I don't know what it was before, but we've been trying to talk, like, we've had a lot of conversation between just 5th grade. Sometimes I'll send a quick email just over and be like, hey, where are we with this? We kind of talk about just, what do you do if you get to the end of your curriculum? And so they've talked to me about what would be best to hit on to prepare them for middle school. So I teach 7th and 8th grade. I go over and I talk to Miss Flood, and not very long ago, actually, I walked over and I was like, okay, I know I'm not gonna make it. Here's what I have left to cover. Out of this, I need a couple places where I can either do a real quick or I can skip. And so she looked through and kind of helped me with, this is something I need you to do. This, if you could just touch on it real quick, that's actually my standard as well. So I think it all comes down to just having time for us to talk, because that's really the best way to go about it, at least for me.
Being in the same building, that 6 through 12 vertical alignment does make it easier. We're a small enough district that, we can't just go across the hall instead of having to have a date on the calendar, which bigger districts have to do, to have that conversation. So they have them more often.
All right.
Deborah and I have also talked about the importance of vertical alignment. I'm going to continue to strengthen those relationships, the communication and building at a time. So that's certainly a focus of administration.
Thank you for your time.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Not much a question about the comment, I guess. Now I've been around the district for a very long time. Very, and vertical alignment, we talked about, gosh, now starting with in 3. We just talk about it, and never seem to get all the time. Because it's a really good day in leadership, we forget about it. Doesn't sound like you're all forgetting about it, and it's okay.
We're incredibly blessed here too, because we are so close that to properly vertically align and create those opportunities is much easier than it would be.
I love being able to walk over to the high school and be like, hey. I've never had that until I came here, and that is huge.
I mean, never used like that.
Yeah, I would say it's fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just. Tag on to that, the vertical line is much easier when we have fewer standards. So Oregon's done a good job picking the primary ones that they feel that Oregon students really need to know, and kind of either rephrasing or somehow blending them into the ones we keep, but ones we're not keeping, they're getting blended into the ones we're doing now. So having fewer standards is much easier to vertical, but instead of having 148 standards in 1 year, I can possibly get through all of them.
We met down to 21 years.
Yeah, and I actually just looked, geometry was 43 standards for a year, and now we're at 14. So it's gonna be much more of an easier task to get rid of. So at the high school level, we are fond of this Big Ideas curriculum. It's another different publisher, so a different publisher at the elementary and at the middle school and at the high, and actually I think it's fine, because again, we're constantly going back to the standards, what the standards, which is Oregon Department of Education wants to be teaching. And so as long as we're hitting those, the curriculum itself doesn't matter as much. Our teachers are all really awesome in connecting stuff to our students. And so as long as we can trust them to keep that up with different publishers, that's not as big of an issue, in my experience. So Big Ideas is a really good one. We like this one the most because with our new standards, as you guys have heard of the 2+1, we talked about that a little bit. The 2+1 standards, there's a lot of emphasis on authentic modeling and story, not just story problems and word problems, but fully engaging with a problem like which lake is bigger, Lake Flathead in Montana or Lake Tahoe in California? And that's it. You just give them that question and they get to investigate. Whether it's volume or surface area or whatever, you know, who might be interested in fishermen or deep sea diver kind of situations. Really authentically dig into the modeling. So the big ideas does a really good job of offering more of those than the other publishers that we see. So, for example, you have Stonehenge. They do an aspect integrating a bunch of NAPTO stuff.
I don't have too much to add on this specifically. We took an opportunity as a math department to sit down with the whole high school team, look at all of our options. There were several presented to us and we narrowed it down again until we finally ended up this one. I think between our top few, like Jessica said, it was really almost like it's hard to pick because they all have a lot of the same features, a lot of the same qualities. This one just seemed the best overall. We liked it, so we chose that one. I think what I'm most excited for is really that +1 class where we get to think about the variety of offerings and modeling and real authentic experiences for our students beyond algebra and geometry and what that's going to look like in new pathways. But the book it's good math book.
So we've got the standards, as Deborah, did you give the standards for K-12 or okay, K-12? So as you've probably seen the 9th and 10th grade, the first 2 years of high school math standards are quite small compared to what they were in volume. The 2+1, the +1 aspect is really pretty open. And we have lots of ideas. I don't know if we've shared yet with you our ideas for what we plan on doing. So it used to be that we would just go 6, 7, 8, and then 9th grade we had 2 options, 10th grade there was 1 option, 11th grade 1 option, maybe 2, and so the options were limited. So on the top half of that page, you'll see what used to be, and what we are currently now phasing out. So there was really kind of a really limited option for students who weren't on the trajectory for 4-year university in a STEM field.
Yeah, the way I look at our original track or our original pathways is there was really 2. There was the 4-year STEM track or the whatever else you're going to have. And that doesn't hit the variety of needs for the variety of students we have and their possible careers and every pathway that students take now that are not just 4-year universities, particularly not just STEM fields. So if we compare that to where we're going, the arrows are much more chaotic. There's many pathways now with many interests, or there will be if all this comes to fruition like we're hoping. One thing you'll notice is there's still the main pathway for any STEM student who wants to get through calculus. But one of the best things that's changing this year, and I do mean this year into next year, is Algebra 2 and pre-calculus are getting collapsed down into essentially the same class. It's been an issue for a really long time. In my entire career of teaching pre-calc, I've had students every year say, wait a minute, we did all this last year. Wait a minute, we just learned this. Wait a minute, isn't that what they're doing in Algebra 2? And I, as a teacher, have had problems where I forget whether I'm teaching this week in Algebra 2 and that week in pre-calc, and I get mixed up between the 2 classes. There's so much overlap. It's over 90% between the 2 of them. So what we're doing is we're swapping out literally one topic and everything else matches up. And we're able now this year to get students who are taking Algebra 2 instead of Math 95 credit through LCC for free through College Now, we can get them Math 111 credit. And for the 4-year college experience, that means freshman level 4-year college credit that automatically supersedes Math 95 and qualifies for any class, for any degrees that would have Math 95 instead of Math 111. So it's opened up a really great opportunity for students that are on that track. Additionally, it's going to let them advance through trigonometry and statistics in one year. They get both classes next year if they choose, or they can slow down and take statistics in the 4th full year class, which we're already offering for Jessica, which is another college STEM class. So it's giving them the ability to advance a lot more quickly than they would have in the previous model. And beyond that, we also have this plethora of new classes that we want to offer that are not just for these students that want to get to calculus, because not everybody needs calculus, and we're recognizing that. And as much as I love calculus, and Jessica loves calculus, and you probably love calculus, not everybody does. So when it comes right down to it, if we look at some of the other options, we'll make step on all these. We're looking at construction math, we're looking at an applied algebra math, which you might need to help me with the difference between those.
Construction math is more hands-on construction math and geometry. This is more algebra.
Right, so more geometry, more algebra.
Yeah.
The occupational math is a class that students have asked for a long time. We're looking at math related to social sciences, nursing, record keeping, journalism, really life skills math, getting you through everything that anybody can use in.
Finances. Do you want to know how much you can afford on a car loan, what we were paying if you take out a loan for this much?
How about how much bark was on your backyard?
Yeah.
You need so much mulch, yeah,
Yeah.
24 square.
Appreciate that.
And then the other two we're offering are engineering, which includes, we used to have a robotics program that I am sort of taking over, but that's been a whole complicated thing. But what we're looking at is using all of this wonderful robotics and engineering equipment we have to turn it into a full year engineering survey class where students can get hands-on experience applying math in a variety of engineering fields. And then parallel with that, we have physics, which we're already offering as a science credit, but we now have the ability to offer it to students as science or math. They can choose when they sign up for it because there's so much math already involved in that class. Those are the changes we're looking at. We're pretty excited. We hope you like them too.
So to recap, we like big ideas for 9th and 10th grade algebra and geometry. The +1 will be a bit more piecemeal. We're gonna have to work with LCC and the colleges operating current credit to use either their textbooks that they would provide or to find something. That's just sort of what we can get for those. I don't think it's a curriculum that we would have to buy in most cases. For the most.
Yeah, LCC in particular really likes the open source curriculums. We tend to share those with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I already explained all this to parents, so they can help their kids.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll be sending out this communication. In fact, our high school counselor is already having a conversation much with students as well as with the parents. He's already talked to them about that, so they actually registered for math classes last week or before, or last spring, but 2 weeks ago. So the families are mostly aware. There was also the informational thing happening much of the 1 or 2.
So you have a lot of new math classes. And you've got the curriculum ready for all those different classes, correct?
Well, as I said, most of them are the one,
It's
and those
all,
will be piecemeal. Yeah, we either some of them are ones that we've all taught before in previous schools where we worked, or we're familiar enough with the content that it wouldn't be too bad to try to grab.
but the +1 is the college credit through LCC, correct?
It's some of them are available for college credit, not all of them.
But the ones that aren't the +1, like the occupational math.
Mhm.
Or
The
construction math. Those are something that you've got to work on, or you have some curriculum for.
Either using an open source or working to build onto open source.
It's great to see that you have more options for students and, you know, things to interest kids in various pathways. So that's great to see. Appreciate that effort, and because it is a lot of effort
Yeah,
to have that many different classes.
we're excited. We expect our students to be much more engaged.
Any other math questions?
I'm just wondering if it's board member can audit high school.
All these board members are both going to come stop by anytime.
We'll talk to the subject.
Especially because I didn't go out of the elementary.
We're about to do disc and washer method. Integration. So that's yeah.
No.
Thank you for the presentations.
So we'll gather those for you, to approve on our next agenda. And then. Matt, team.
Yeah.
Perfect, thanks for taking the time out.
Thank you very much.
We have a legal here, I'll figure them back a little bit.
I only brought you great.
I'll put this in a pile of up.
Our next item would be 7.2. The elementary school principal report.
I'll make it brief. We had a great night here in March 16th. It was a busy night. PTO hosted Not to Feed after 3 years of hiatus. We all took a moment to reflect that it was 3 years ago that particular day that we got a call from the State Department, which got us down. And I had to cancel a Not to Feed, I had to cancel the museum. I won't name the list of things that I'm canceling today. So it was nice after 3 years to get it back going again. We estimate PTO served about 370 folks nachos that night. We had Kona Ice here, selling ice cream, not ice cream, ice slushies. Book fair was open right here in this room, did $3,800. We had the Living Museum up and going. It was crowded as usual, the halls were busy. We opened the gymnasium, had an artifact night, as well as said, hey, let's throw up now for everyone to review K through 12. And so it was there available. We also showcased Mr. Bob with the projector and our slideshows that we use before really spirit assemblies. So kids can see what's going on in each other's classrooms too. So it was a fun evening. I didn't hear any complaints, just lots of thank yous, and we can't wait to have more community events. So when's the next one? And I was like, well, hold on, let's get through this one and we've got spring break and then we'll talk about what's going on. We had many challenges going on at the elementary the last 2 weeks. We challenged our kids to work on being accountable for keeping their hands to themselves. So we had that going on, and we had 10 classes out of 18 that were successfully meeting the criteria of the challenge and staying in referral free for 2 weeks, which is tough before a break. So I was very impressed. We also challenged our families. We challenged our kids, give mom and dad some homework. Say that to that often, so you can give families some homework. Because of the move to Synergy, one of the things that we clearly heard was we've got to get everyone re-enrolled and not to wait until June to get it done. And so we said, hey, let's see if we can get 90% of our body re-enrolled by spring break. And 5 of our classes hit that 90% mark. So wouldn't you know, our principal decides we're gonna have otter pops. It was supposed to be nice, and we got snow. It's like good cause. And we had a lot of others that were very close. As of today, I can update you, we've got 87% of our students K through 4 re-enrolled, and about 71% of our 5th graders transitioning over to the middle school level next year. Because we don't get to see that, so we better rely a little bit on some work with our middle school folks to get that. And we also had kindergarten registration. It was nice to have parents back on campus that evening and get to talk about kindergarten again after a 3-year hiatus. We currently, as of the date I wrote this, had 33, but we're up to 37 students fully enrolled right now. Remember, you usually take the number that you have that night, double it, and that gives you a good estimation as to where you should be. That's the old rule of thumb. We're hoping that the old rule of thumb is back in play. So I'm projecting us for that 60-70 kids in there. We'll see what happens in the neighborhood. All that over summer too, for instance. So We're excited, our DI team, we had 2 DI teams this year, Rising Stars, which is the kindergarten first grade team, competed at the showcase and received lots and lots of compliments, and then were presented with nice little golden medals at our last Philliesburg assembly. And they were just overjoyed to receive those medals. We also had a 3rd grade team that was challenged this year to rewrite a fairy tale. And so they rewrote Cinderella through their own lens and put a creative spin on it. They took 3rd in state, and we're excited to participate in state. They'll be moving on to nationals and anything like that. I'm also pleased to announce Phoebe Cooksey is our new ROM, Retail Mentoring Coordinator, as well as Family Resource Coordinator, and she's been with us for about 3 weeks now. And we've had some great mentors walking beside her. And she will be kicking off story time starting this Wednesday to our families. Our big event happening, we have 2 big events in the month of April. Testing season is upon us. We are all testing, and we've put out lots of communication around that. The state is saying you gotta get 95% participation. And none of us in the state of Oregon reached 95% participation for probably about 3 years. It was the last time we hit it. And so I had to write a plan of improvement for the district. So we've already put that into play with lots of parent communications, staff trainings, and things of that nature. So again, our goal is 95% that the state has put on us. So we've got OSAS testing happening grades 3 through high school level. And we also have 3rd grade swimming back. So our 3rd graders will be taking swimming lessons at Shelby Pool at the end of the month. As well as, I'm gonna slip in one more, Kelly Thibodeau. If you remember Kelly Thibodeau, he was a fiddler, artist in residence who came here many years ago now, is going to be back joining us, and we'll have fiddling lessons going on for most of the month of April too, for all students. So we're excited to have him. And at any time, you guys are always welcome to pop in, join a fiddling concert, fiddling lesson. The only thing I can't let you do is walk into a classroom where OSAS testing is going on. Look through the window, but I can't let you in.
Any questions for Deborah? All right, thank you, Deborah.
You're welcome.
Garth?
Yeah, I'd just like to start out by thanking the board for the support you give it to FFA. I think it's testament tonight to see the hard work that they do. Angela is works tirelessly. I'm gonna have to kind of beg her to take time off, which she actually did this break. So I was happy to see that. So the more time that I spend with these kids, the more I'm just blown away. They're all really incredible. The individuals that didn't speak tonight. I mean, we had Hunter during career fair step in and give an entire lesson because we had a presenter not show up. So, and it was incredible. So just incredible. Anyway, Destination Imagination. The Pleasant Hill Middle School Destination Imagination team placed first last month in their Disney Challenge throw. They built a roller coaster for a golf ball. By placing first, they earned an invitation to the Global Candidate Finals in Kansas City, Missouri, the 3rd week of May. And so we have their big trophy in the main office there. The team members are Joanna Holly, Trevor Olson, Jackson Shack, and Aria Burma. Their first fundraiser is the DI pledge sale on April 29th. So come out and help them out. And yeah, we're really proud of the work that they do. So it's pretty incredible. They should have a great trip. Middle school run for funds. We had great participation, and want to recognize the people that stepped up and helped out our kids. They raised $6,526, and they plan to use these funds to help in the coast trip and building taking the people to school year. So, choir, the Advanced Choir Ascensions got the opportunity to perform at Oregon State University for an OSA state qualifying event. Although they were close to qualifying, they got invited to perform at another OSA state qualifying event this Thursday at Roseburg High School. In addition to that, Ascension's also got to perform at the Clackamas Local Jazz Festival at Clackamas County College, where they got the chance to work with the clinicians and adjunct. It's been a long day. Educators who specialize in local jazz and it's got quality feedback. So that was a really cool experience. Received feedback outside of our school. Attendance. So as we return back, our school is working on re-emphasizing the importance of regular attendance. As you know, at the beginning of the year, we had to kind of do some work to make sure that we were getting quality data for our attendance. And so we did continue to work on that up to this point. And our goals in this area are threefold. First, we're implementing new processes to ensure accurate attendance is being taken for each student each period. Students who intentionally skip class will receive a major referral and which attention will be assigned. Secondly, we also have improved our processes for addressing irregular attendance. Under ORS 339.065 defines irregular attendance as 8 unexcused 1/2-day absences in any 4-week period during when school is in session shall be considered irregular attendance. If students meet this threshold, the following step will be taken: email, phone, followed by visiting one or more classes, followed by phone calls to parent and guardians, followed by email to parent guardians to contact counselors, followed by email and letter to parents. Really, the gist of this is that we're really stepping up to communicate with families when their students attendance to a certain point. What I've found is that oftentimes, until you get the data in front of the parents in terms of the percentages of their kids list, it doesn't take a whole lot to be in a really dangerous area in terms of the amount of education they're losing and falling a little behind. And that's one of the hardest things is to see a kid that is out and starts to kind of disconnect from relationships and the things that are happening. So trying to get them tied back in as best we can and really increase engagement and conversation. And it's not about the punitive aspect of it. It's about the restorative aspect of it and looking at removing whatever the barriers are for those students come to school, really having those conversations and working together as a team to make sure that we get that student back on track. So that's our focus. We have a blood drive going on Tuesday, April 4th, which is tomorrow. At the auxiliary gym. You can go to redcrossblood.org to schedule an appointment. Some things that we have coming up. We have on the 7th, high school career fair. On the 14th, we have a grading day. 15th, Pleasant Hill Jazz Festival. The 17th, the start at fourth quarter. High school prom is on the 22nd at Emerald Valley. Booster auction at Emerald Valley on the 29th. And Destination Imagination Plant Sale, as I said before, is on the 29th. Our students of the month and most improved are for March, freshman Matt Henderson, sophomore Cyprian Sistula, junior Xavier Jazz, senior Christopher Hutchinson, and our March students of the month, freshman Caitlin Oliver, sophomore Tessa Hammonds, junior Dina Helby, and senior Eli Brett. That's what we have. You said it.
All right. Questions? Thank you, Garth.
You got it.
7.4 was superintendent report.
So in your board pack on the blue paper, you've got quite a bit of detailed information on this, a really high level. New governor came out with a proposal of 9.9 billion for the state school fund, right before spring break. The Ways and Means chair also came out and matched that 9.9 billion state school fund. The way in which they're getting there is a couple different ways. But I think the important part is that they, basically matched on the same wavelength as far as 9.9. The projected roll-up, and then this is where it kind of gets really interesting, think about the current service level, how they figure the current service level, what the projected roll-up is. They're generally different numbers, so roll-up costs, estimating about 10.3 billion, and that's generally a collection of evidence from school districts, and so school districts can be all over the board though, as far as what an actual roll-up cost is. Most of that roll-up cost is in payroll costs, and so areas around Portland have much higher levels of roll-up costs. Areas where there's a higher cost of living, obviously might have higher roll-up costs anyway. So projected true roll-up costs is, this came out of COSA with about 10.3 billion. The quality education model has is at 11.89 billion, but the 9.9 is a nice number. We're hoping that we're going to get closer to the 10.1, but doesn't look like that's going to happen at this point. 9.9 right now is to be a big compliment. Says you my number. On the legislative side, there were initially, I believe, about 3,000 bills that were going through the House. Tomorrow is a very key day because it's the first chamber work session, and so there's a key deadline that if those don't make it into those committees or the chamber work, then they're basically dead on arrival. So we're really going to see things get pared down quickly tonight, tomorrow. Some key ones that are coming out of it though is one is the House Bill 3198, and there's two of these that are coming out. One of them is from the governor though. The other one is for Stanford Children, which is House Bill 3198. They're basically the same thing. It has to do with reading and really dictating that schools are going to adapt to it, what they call the science of reading, which is a phonics-based approach to reading. So that's got some movement to it, which I'm going to go through. Another one is
Sorry, I thought they decided that phonics doesn't work.
Is pendulum back the other way?
Fully.
yeah.
So it's disputed.
The big five has always been the big five. Reading first schools have always been around the big five. Phonics has always been a part of it. I don't know, I can't remember the history of it, but a lot of districts never went completely away from phonics. They went away from some of the really heavy phonics-based programs. I think what she's getting back to is not necessarily a strict phonics-based, but going back to the science of it, which is the letter identification, blending, phonemic segmentation, vocabulary comprehension, but just making sure that the solid big five are actually taught. So I don't imagine it not a big change.
No, not for us. We're there.
Some of the changes I think would be more in tune with well, I'll go on to that, maybe it makes more sense. So another one that's coming out of the governor's office is Senate Bill 1045. This one is getting a lot of pushback. I don't really think it's going to go by way of the chamber work session. I think it's going to go to the committee for some conversation first, which is going to slow it down. I know OSBA, COSA has actually met. It does go to the committee, but they'll actually speak to parents or whatever they'll speak out. More like this is actually a bill that would actually centralize almost all of the oversight bill at the state level Department of Education. So there's been a lot of push towards more local control in Oregon. This is going back the other way. Again, I think it's one of those things that once it gets, I don't say man, but once it gets out there a little further and further, it's likely to go anywhere, especially in the governor's first term. Another one is House Bill 2739. This one allows some discussions. I talked about the current service level and the way in which they can figure out money for schools. The formula that they've used to do that is a bit wonky. And it's never gotten full attention to discuss better ways to do that. So House Bill 2739 really allows for education stakeholders like OSBA and those that get together and actually give some suggestions on how the actual funding level and actually figuring out accurately what does it look like for a rural cost and what's current service level funding the district look like. And the last one, Senate Bill 290. This one is more about management and control of public schools towards State Board of Education. It's not currently posted for a work session, and so it looks like that one's going to actually die as well. But again, it had more to do with the governance and who actually governs schools and local control or state control. There was one going through around middle school PE requirements. They were looking at reducing that from 225 to 150 minutes, which would really relieve a lot of relief as far as schedules at the middle school level. There was one Senate Bill 3 that had to do with adding some financial literacy for students. And then there was a slew of special education bills. One of them being getting away with what we call abbreviated day, one around seclusion and restraints, and then one had to do with child abuse. And then the last one, House Bill 2690, that looks to me like it might get some steam, is around increased pay for special education staff to be mandated at the state level. High level, tomorrow we will have a really better picture. OSBA should have an update. Such a good data that it doesn't make the committees are going to dominate. Wow.
Wasn't there one about class size being mandatory for learning?
That was as well as in there. Yeah, there was a class side
Is
one.
that going forward? Or-
Not likely.
Good.
It's
It's hard for small business.
it is it's hard, yes, it's hard for everyone. California, you know, they dip their toes into that. And stuff, so. Pretty drastic, but it's
Thank you very much for watching that. I did listen in on a Sunday night, legislative session on educational bills. My God, I'm doing that very poorly done.
Yeah.
So it's the, representative saying, well, there's this bill, I don't really understand it very well, never gave the number of the bill that she was looking at. I think about that about. That was really.
and it is just this enormous funnel that really. Your COSA must be doing a great job with the people that they have employed that will go through and actually follow some of it, really pick out the ones that have got some steam going. They focus on them really initially, and then it's just a wait until things get fun fast and you can go this much really.
Any other questions?
I understand they had another representative here on campus.
Yes.
How to try to run
Well, so, we basically did it for the campus. It gave me a chance to practice some of the dates in my head as far as when the buildings are between 1927 and 1960s, 1970s wings. Here, try to mismatch buildings. He also does legislature sets aside money in which they call it Christmas wish list. And so what they do is collect suggestions and ideas. So and we put on real pretty area. I sent in 3 as far as just some work that we're doing here, funding a fire science class, the reconditioning reconditioning of the forestry building, reconditioning of the library as examples. So he'll take those action in legislature. That is kind of whether it wishes, it's more like a lottery. And being a new to the legislature, I don't know, kind of waiting rules, but it was just great to get him on campus, make that connection. And then he's, education is really not what he's in on, or I think spending a lot of time with, but he's really interested in education. For people since it's a big portion of it, as well, he wants to work out it. It's just his background is in law enforcement, public safety. That's spent some good time on that education.
No, in that case, we're going to recess